What's going on, people? Jada Black here, back with another video. This video is going to be about building, Roland Martin, what happens when you don't own your own intellectual properties, that you get to the point to where you're an employee instead of an employer. And that is what has happened with a lot of black people. Even though we talk about building our own, having our own media, we're selling out our media. Every single day, we're selling out our own media. All the black publications, pretty much the majority of them that we grew up on, are now being sold to non-blacks. Now, there's some issues going on at TVOne. I know y'all have heard about the situation with Roland Martin and his show on TVOne being canceled. He has a morning show that he does, and it's being canceled according to page 6. Let's see. It says TVOne is canceling Roland Martin's morning show News One now due to budget cuts, page 6 has learned. They called a meeting on Wednesday and told the staff they were canceling the show. They're having significant financial problems and they have to scale back, a source said. After 4 years of award-winning programming and distinguished service to our viewers as the only black daily newscast on television, the network has made the difficult decision to suspend the production of News One now as a daily morning news show. The last live show is scheduled for December 21st. TVOne's interim GM Michelle Rice wrote in a memo. That might be the problem there. You have an interim GM, interim general manager. That might be one of the issues there. Now, I don't know. It hasn't said yet whether ratings are the issue. Hold on, let me read a little bit more. The news shocked staffers, including Martin, as the network just expanded the morning show to 2 hours in September. Maybe that's where the problems came into play. Maybe people weren't watching that second hour of the show. There were lots of tears. The staff was completely caught off guard, our source said. The memo added, while we will continue our long-standing partnership with Roland Martin to ensure his important voice can be heard across all Urban One platforms, examining issues of importance to the black community, we regret this decision and adversely affects several of our valued colleagues whose positions will be eliminated with the suspension of the show. Martin didn't comment. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. You got a full staff of people there who is heavily reliant not only on Roland Martin, but on the network to be able to keep things going. Now, I don't want to bring gender into it because I know there are different layers. So why does it seem like whatever a female is running gets ran into the ground unless she is in a role that she has no, like, she does not make any financial decisions. Like, she has higher ups who do that, most of that for her. She does the managing. Because when you have, because I believe TVOne is ran by a female, if I'm not mistaken. When you have women running networks, it usually doesn't work out. I mean, look at social media. You have all these women running these social media platforms into, basically into nothingness. And TVOne, to me, you look at the premise, but they didn't have a lot of business people running that network, putting them in positions to where they can get the show to bring in more viewership, because that's what drives these shows to compete, is viewership. And obviously, the people that they were trying to reach weren't watching the show. A show for black people, but black people weren't watching the show. That says a lot. You're making a show to benefit black people, but they're not watching the show in numbers enough for you to get more advertising, for you to, get more people watching the show. Obviously, what they were doing wasn't working. Maybe expanding it that extra hour hurt the network, because that's what I think it did. And now you have Roland Martin, a guy who you thought could carry your network, who obviously can't. And it was proven for the fact that you have to close down the show. Now, who are we going to blame for this? Somebody got to get blamed for this. Is it going to be the system? Is it going to be the viewership, the higher-ups? Because obviously you didn't have enough business people running that network. You weren't bringing on guests that people wanted to see. And now you're basically taking down a show that you said is popular, but obviously it wasn't popular enough to where the show has to be canceled. Popular shows don't get canceled after 4 years. Maybe if it's been running for a long time and you're having issues to the point to where you have to make changes. But if something is popular, it's going to make money. And obviously, either you didn't have business people running the network properly, or the show wasn't as popular as you're saying it is. Popular shows don't get canceled like this. So obviously, something is going on with the people who are running that network. They don't know what they're doing. And now I have to say this as well. Transition over to my my thought piece background. So I want y'all to veer into the darkness of my mind. The blank canvas before you. Roland Martin is a guy who can be controversial. He has viewpoints that I don't share, that I don't agree with, but he is a good debater. He's a very good debater. You can see why he has always been a guest on these other lamestream media network platforms, But you have to look at it this way. If I'm Roland Martin, would I entrust my show on a network with people who don't know what they're doing? Or I go and build my own? Because that's the problem. You have people of Roland Martin's social standing who is reliant on other people to produce his shows. He should be producing his own. But a lot of us as black people are afraid to veer off on our own for whatever reason. We're afraid to go out on a limb. We're afraid to take risks. Because if he's as popular as they're making him out to be, that audience is going to follow him. But the audience didn't follow enough on TVOne to where it kept the show going, because you don't cancel anything that is popular. Unless either the higher-ups had a different view of what they wanted the show to be, and they said to themselves, we can't continue this, or you really didn't have the money to continue paying Roland Martin and his staff. Look at the network that P. Diddy bought or started, Revolt TV. Now, he may have started with other people, but it's pretty much his brainchild. Revolt TV. You got the Breakfast Club that airs on Revolt TV if you have cable. I don't know if it's on satellite. It might be. The Breakfast Club radio show airs on Revolt TV. And other than that, they play a lot of music videos. I don't really watch too much, but I know they do air the Breakfast Club. That's Diddy's, basically his network. He is the guy who is the face of it. Okay? A radio show as popular as the Breakfast Club. You would think that it costs money to produce that show, but it's been on there. It's been on Revolt TV, what, about close to 3 years now? Maybe maybe a little less than that, maybe 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. You know, and they don't show any signs of slowing down. Maybe because they have different people running it. But if you're gonna have a show like Roland Martin's, you need to make sure you have people who know how to produce shows like this, market shows like this. Obviously, they didn't market it good enough for them to just outright cancel it. They didn't market it enough. So you have to say to yourself, if you're Roland Martin, why be an employee? You know, I'm pretty sure you have the right connections to basically start your own. Take that risk. But too many of us as black people are afraid to take that risk, but we will take that reward. We want that reward, but we don't want that risk because we don't want to be blamed. We don't want the fingers pointed at us if things don't go right. But sometimes we have to take risks in order to ensure that we don't end up losing everything by somebody else's decision who don't know anything about television broadcasting, who don't know anything about running a platform, telling us, you know what, we got to pull the plug. You want to be able to be in a position to where you're calling the shots, you control what goes on, you operate everything. But see, this whole I'm trying to be black, I'm trying to do this, listen. The definition of doing for self should mean more to black people. And trying to keep it real and be on TVOne and produce for content for black people, how did that work out, Roland? How did it work out? This is why you have to choose running a platform the right way instead of trying to run it the way that other people want you to run it, to appease other people who are not even watching your show, Roland. I bet you that I bet you that when this whole situation with Roland, he probably wanted to do something differently before he came to TVOne, but people convinced him that he's doing this for black people. And you have black people who weren't even watching his show. And they are the main ones probably upset the most that the show is being canceled. But you got to understand, TVOne is ran by black people, right? They're the ones calling the shots. They're the ones pulling the plug. And y'all were probably the ones who didn't even watch the show. Let me know something in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to like the video if you like it. Comment. Let me know what you think, whether you like the commentary or not. That's it.